Hey, Ted here. Today we're taking a look at technical analysis for SP500 with Elliott Wave Theory. A couple of advertisements here at the start. I've finally completed the Elliott Wave and RSI Advanced course, so if you want to master the RSI and want to learn how it can be utilized properly with Elliott Wave Theory, check out the course on Udemy. I've also started counter trend capital with few expert traders that will be paid Discord group. Currently the Discord is free, so you can check it out if you're interested. And lastly, if you want to educate yourself and support me, you can take a look at Patreon, where you can find Elliott Wave Basics course, access to weekly live streams and extra content overall. Thank you for your support. Let's get into the charts next. So here we are on the charts of SP500 futures on 4-hour time frame. So let's take a look at the higher time frame first, just to check in where we are at. Now the overall main idea has been that we've had this as a WXY coming down into the lows of around June 2022, and since then we can have a couple of different views and different variations of this. So one of them is that this indeed would be a wave W completed from the highs, and this would be creating a three-way structure, something like this, and possibly completed it at these highs of around 3rd of February. And since then we would be continuing the next or the previous trend, trying to create that wave Y next in a three waves. So that is the main idea that I have and been following. The other one is the possibility where this is the X wave here. So X wave is not here, but instead in here. Again, we have retraced quite a bit already here. So again, that fits the idea overall. And then again, we have a possibility of labeling this in 5 ways coming down. And in this scenario, we'd be labeling it in impulse wave structure, and again, as it is impulsive or can be labeled in impulsive structure, we would label it A in the first structure of a zigzag. Then we'd have a three-way pullback and a continuation of that wave A, B, and then C, and that would be creating that wave Y overall later on. But both of those are again on the table in validation at these highs for this impulse count coming down for the C wave. Of course, locally this would be the invalidation for the idea of this being impulsive to the downside. Then other ideas would be something like this, where we would have this as an ABC. This would be ABCDE, a triangle where again the B would be later or lower than the origin of that triangle. So this would be creating it a running triangle. This is still possible, not the best look, but again, it's still there. RSI wise, if it can load itself up, we can see that we are getting some kind of congestion here and contraction. I guess that's a better word. So this would be A, B, C, D, and E, looking for something like that. So at least here we'd be looking for a three-way structure and 3 ways before continuation to the downside. So all of those are the higher time frame degrees, higher time frame opportunities and structures that we would be looking at if we were to trade the higher time frames. I'm not trading the higher time frames because again there's more opportunities here on locally. So let's dive into these more local opportunities, of which one of them is this one, where we have the structure starting from the October lows. Again, I've labeled this in 3 waves. This should be probably used to here. Where this would be labeled in W, and then we would have this as 3 ways. Now we have 2 different options here again. Either this would be a wave W, or this would be the first structure of that. Wave X, not a W. Either this would be a end of wave X, or this would be the first structure of that wave X, and then we would have first structure, second, and third, where we would be moving this wave X later on. So we'd be creating either a running flat if we don't take out these lows here, or if we take them out, we'd be creating a running flat, a expanded flat. There we go. And then again, overall, we'd be looking for a 3-way structure for that wave Y, wherever it's going to be ending at. These labels or these expectations are based on this low here, as if the wave X is already done. But again, the expanded flats here is definitely a possibility as well. Now for the bulls, where the only possibility on higher time frame was a WXY exit of this sort, where we have this as a triple correction, which is very rare, I have to say. The only bullish option is that we have some kind of very ugly contracting diagonal here. But again, it's very ugly and it has issues on its own, and we have the exact same structure possibilities here locally as we do for the more corrective structure, where this is again the possibility of being wave 2 or wave B, or this whole thing would be moved over later on. Again, we'll delve into the smaller timeframes in just a moment. Again, both of those are possible. I don't really care about the count, which one of these is correct. I'm just going to be trading the probabilities. If this comes down here and this last leg is impulsive, I would be looking to long the area here for the potential upside. Whether this whole thing becomes a ABC, a 1, 2, 3, or a WXY, it does not matter. You see all the paths are leading upwards here on these at least. So again, that's why I'm trading the way I am. Now let's get rid of those and jump into the smaller time frames here much more locally and see what our expectations were. Let's go to 30 minutes. Overall, we had a couple of different ideas here as a 1, 2, 1, 2, or just a 1 and 2, where within wave 2 we have this expanded structure. And then we'd have another 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5. Depending on where this structure goes, it's not really impulsive to the downside, this structure here. So again, the expectation was that we had this as a wave 4. Previously, we were, I think, somewhere around here, where I was talking about how this did not really resemble a wave 4, because again, this was so small. So in the end, we did get an expanded structure here, even though if it was a running flat. Now the structure from here on out again does not really seem impulsive to the downside at the moment. It looks more like an impulse to the upside currently. So again, we need to be wait and see how that is going to turn out. Of course, it is possible that this whole thing would be already done, and at that point again we'd be just labeling basically this wave 2 up into these highs, and then we would have a one less degree of structures, and for sure we can be labeling this end at these lows as well. The only issue with that is on these smaller time frames we can see that this low here was actually the lowest low on RSI here. So again, we'd want to have a some kind of divergence on the 3rd and 5th if this indeed is an impulse wave structure. Otherwise it turns more into this WXY structure or a corrective wave count, which would again, instead of leading downwards with pressure, it would be having the continuation to the upside instead. So here is that WXY count. This WXY here is very same for the both. I don't see this being a bullish structure at all now that it has completed. We had a bullish possibility there before, but again, as these structures came to being, we got rid of that count because again, it did not really resemble a wave 4s anymore. But overall, I think this looks decent. Again, wave W can be labeled a couple of different ways. I've labeled this in 3, and then this has to be kind of, well, extended 3, and then another 3-way structure here in form WXY, WXY or ABC, and then the same structure here. It is kind of questionable that we have expanding triangle here, which is very not typical of a structure, and yeah, more often than not they are not going to be playing out like this, but in this case it could be labeled like such. So again, we're just going to be holding it on like as it is. But yeah, this looks decent. 1.618, again something that I hold as basically a maximum for a WXY count, because generally they don't take that long in extensions at least. So again, I do kind of like this as the maximum. If we go well beyond this, I would probably start to favor the impulse wave count overall. Both of them are still possible, and neither of them look too bad on the substructures. So again, that's why I hold them possible. 1-to-1 extension of this wave here, W and X, hitting the 1-to-1 as well around the 1.618 area here. So that is decent as well. And now if we are starting to get that impulsive wave count upwards, something like that, then we'd be looking for some kind of move up already. that would have a partner leg to this structure over here. So if we get a 5-way structure, we'd be looking for something that would resemble this. Again, we had the impulse wave structure possibility there as well, being the wave A, B, and then C, or being the A, B, and C. We have already retraced or extended to the 0.618, I believe here. Yeah, we have. So minimum extension for this leg, comparing it to this one, is already managed and touched. So we can continue the previous trend already. But until we take out the previous highs around $4,033, I would be still looking for more downside, as that I think it looks decent as well, more locally, this impulse count. But we'll see how that turns out, especially once we are starting to get these divergences forming a bit better on smaller time frames as well, not only on 2 hours and higher. We can see that on higher time frames we do have that divergence, but not on these smaller time frames. So yeah, that would be the expectation I would have. But yeah, those are the options for the possible outcomes that I see on S&P 500. Again, if you made it this far into the video, I would appreciate the likes and comments on the video. If you want to learn more, there's a link to my Patreon and Discord on the description below. Check out CTC as well. Thanks for watching and see you on the next video. Bye bye.